Hello, how's it going? Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be starting on another reading vlog adventure, and this is a vlog that I am equal parts excited and nervous to make because it's going to be round 2. This will be the second time that I'm doing this where I have to continue reading until I find a 5-star book. So if you missed it earlier this year, I want to say this was in maybe like March or maybe April, I attempted this kind of video where I had to continue reading, like the reading vlog cannot stop until I find a new 5-star read. And you know, it is really fun for me to make these vlogs because I don't have any plans. You know, usually I'm the kind of person that I like to film the intro for my reading vlogs after I'm already done because I have commitment issues and I always say that I'm gonna read things and then I never do, so I just I don't even waste my breath. I just save that for, you know, afterwards. But now I'm filming this intro before I've even started reading anything because I don't have any plans for this video, and I think these videos are fun but also chaotic because I have no idea how long it's gonna realistically take for me to find a new 5-star read. Like, what if the first book that I read is 5 stars? I don't know. I wouldn't say that I'm particularly stingy with my ratings. I don't know, these days I feel like I do tend to give out 5 stars more often than I used to, but it still takes something really special to impress me. And so if you're wondering if I do have a TBR kind of in place for this video, I kind of do, but I'm also hesitant to tell you about it because again, I don't know if I'm going to be able to commit to this TBR, but the book that I'm going to be starting with for this video is going to be Silver Nitrate by Sylvia Morena Garcia, and I've decided to start with this one because I did just get the audiobook for this one checked out from my library, so it just feels like perfect timing that the universe is telling me that I need to read this now. Do I think this book is going to be 5 stars? I don't know. I mean, probably not if I'm being realistic because this is the same author as Mexican Gothic, and Mexican Gothic was good, but I think for me it was a 3.5 or a 4-star. It wasn't a 5-star. But the reason why I am more interested in this one is because this one follows a sound editor for a film company, a dark thriller about the curse that haunts a legendary lost film and awakens one woman's hidden powers. And so we follow this character who's a talented sound editor, and she's been left out of the boys club running the film industry in 90s Mexico City. So this story just sounds particularly interesting to me because it takes place in the film industry in the 90s, and I just started listening to this on audio this morning. I'm only about 30 pages in, but I've already loved so much of the conversation about what it's like to be a woman working in this particular field and how there's no women who are working as full-time sound editors. She's the only one, and even she's only hired on hourly. And also kind of just talking about the, you know, Mexican filmmakers and what the Mexican film industry was looking like at that time in the 90s. And so I'm already, you know, very curious and very invested. I don't really know, to be honest, what the horror elements of this book are going to be because as far as I know, I looked on Goodreads and this book is categorized under the genres as horror and historical fiction, which ouch, you know, because this book takes place in the 90s when I was born and it's already categorized as historical fiction. So that's only a little bit insulting. But anyways, so far I'm enjoying this. Don't know if it's gonna be 5 stars or not, but I guess we'll just have to see for this vlog, won't we? I also do have, you know, several other books that I would love to get to during this vlog. Will I actually do it though? I don't know. I also have some romance books on my TBR that I haven't gotten around to yet that, you know, could potentially be 5 stars for me because I've enjoyed books from both of these authors, especially The 7-Year Slip. This is Ashley Poston's new romance, and she's the author of The Dead Romantics, which was one of my favorite romance books of last year. So if anything, this book might end up being my Hail Mary. If nothing else is working out, I'm just gonna read this because this is my biggest guaranteed. If this book is not 5 stars, I might actually cry and I might never find a 5-star for this video because this is my go-to plan. If everything else fails, I need this book to be 5 stars, you know what I'm saying? Right now, it's a Saturday night. It is a Saturday afternoon right now. I've just been listening to this and I'm gonna continue to listen to this for a few hours, and then later tonight, I'm going out to dinner with my parents and then I'm going over to their house. I'm probably just gonna hang out with my parents for a while tonight, maybe watch a movie, watch a TV show. I don't know what's in store for me, but I will update you with more thoughts once I have them. Ooh. what's up? It's been about a day since the last time that I updated you because last night I went out to dinner with my parents. It was really great. I was at the house until like around midnight. And then earlier today, this morning, I had the booktube live show for the month of July. It was with my mom and my sister, which was really fun. I also filmed my wrap up and I just finished editing it right now. So I've just had kind of a busy morning. It's already 4 o'clock in the afternoon, but I did want to update you because I have still been reading Silver Nitrate. I'm about 140 pages into this now. I'm like almost halfway through the audiobook. This isn't going super well for me so far because this book is starting to feel quite a bit more I don't know, like historical than I was expecting, because it's not only that this book is taking place in the 90s, but it's that they're doing like a deep dive search into like history and things that have happened in the past. So it's feeling very historical at the moment. And there's also some kind of like magic stuff involved that's making this feel a little bit more fantasy than I was anticipating. You know, something that I thought was really cool about this book, like pretty early on, is I love the conversations that they have about like what are the most infamous horror films of all time, or like the most cursed horror films. Like they've been talking about horror films in the past that have been known to be cursed, and they talk quite a bit about The Exorcist, which, like, if you know anything about the history of that movie, The Exorcist, it's really wild how that movie set might very well have been cursed because there was so many things that went wrong on that set, and it's just so fascinating to like learn more about that history. So I liked how they were talking about that. It was also really cool to hear about how, as like a voice actor, this guy, he does a lot of like dubbing for anime, and he was talking about how hard it is because Japanese is so different from Spanish. There's certain words or phrases that they have in Japanese that they have to like explain differently in Spanish, and how hard it is to like do the proper dubbing of an anime. Like, I don't know, that whole conversation was also really fascinating. But the whole thing in this book is that, you know, this guy Tristan, he's the one that, you know, our main protagonist is like basically in love with. He finds out that his neighbor is this really well-known like cult director man, and so they have these conversations with this guy, and he's saying that he believes that his films have been cursed. So he's asking these two to help him finish the final scenes of his movie so that he can finally like finish the film, and he thinks he'll be like he thinks he'll break the curse if he finishes this film. So then it's about how they're doing this deep dive. It says they are unraveling the mystery of the film and the obscure occultist who once roamed their city. So it's like they're doing a lot of research into something that happened in their town a long time ago. And so far it's been pretty slow, if I'm being honest. Like, it's just been really slow. It's been really building the tension. There have been a few scenes, just like 2 that come to mind, that were very creepy and like descriptive and bloody and just like, oh, like those scenes were really capturing my attention and held my interest. But for the most part, the story's just been really slow, like a lot slower than I was expecting. And I think with like a lot of the historical, almost like info dumping, it's kind of like losing me a little bit. You know, I think at this point in time, it's safe to say that this will probably not be 5 stars. Like, I would probably rate this 4 stars at the highest right now, but I still don't think things are looking that good. Like, so far it's giving me 3-star energy. So I do think I'm gonna try to finish this one up today. Hopefully. It's a bummer that I'm not enjoying it as much as I thought I would, but you know, I'm definitely still curious to see where it's gonna go. We're probably gonna have dinner pretty soon, maybe in the next hour or so. And then we also might watch more of The Bear later tonight. Me and Rachel have recently just really gotten into The Bear. I started the episodes a little while ago, and then I got Rachel to watch them, and now we're on season 2 already. It all takes place in a restaurant, and there's a lot of chefs, and it's very chaotic, and it kind of reminds me of Shameless because the main guy is one of the guys from Shameless, you know, Jeremy Allen White. I love him so much as an actor, so I've just been really loving The Bear. I will update you with thoughts once I finish this one. Alright, hello. I have finished the first book for this reading vlog, and you know, as you might guess, unfortunately, it was not a 5-star read for me. I would be pretty generous, to be honest, if I gave this book around 3 stars, just because of how much this book didn't really interest me personally. But I do feel like I still want to give this 3 stars because I can acknowledge that this is a very well-written book, and it has really great characters, and there are definitely some really horrific and like gory, well-written scenes, but at the same time, I can't can't deny how boring of a reading experience this book was for me. I think it's mostly due to the fact that I'm not a big, you know, historical fiction reader, and then I'm also not a big fantasy reader, and I don't know why I wasn't expecting for this book to have such heavy, like, fantasy themes to it. Like, there was a lot of talk about magic, about curses, about spells, about, like, witchcraft, and there's also so much of this story that involves a cult, and, like, I also just don't really care about reading about cults either. You know, like, there's just so many things in this book that are topics that I don't usually care about that I wasn't expecting for this book to be about, because when I heard the pitch for this book, I just heard that it was, like, 90s horror films, like, following a sound editor in Mexico City in the 90s, and I was like, hell yes, let's go, like, sign me the fuck up. And while I did like a lot of the discussion about, like, horror movies and, like, that whole thing, it was such a small part of the story at the end of the day, and I feel like this is really a lot more of a character study. It's a slow burn. I just didn't feel fully invested in the story, though. Like, I did like the characters well enough, and I was interested in their story, but also, like, not enough that I really genuinely cared about anything that was happening. And so I am kind of bummed that at the end of the day, I'm only probably gonna give this one like 3 stars, but at the same time, this really just was not my kind of book, and I didn't really realize that it would be that way when I picked it up. I actually really think that this book reminds me quite a bit of Our Share of Night, which is weird to say because, you know, Our Share of Night was a 5-star book, like one of my top favorites of the year, but there were definitely some similarities that I noticed between both of these books. So I feel like if you also read Silver Nitrate and you were just kind of disappointed or you wanted something different, maybe I would check out Our Share of Night instead, just because they do have some things in common, at least with the, like, historical fiction, fantasy kind of feel to them, and then also the, you know, like, Latin culture. Like, this one's more Mexican culture and that one's more, you know, Argentina, but they do have similar vibes, so just a heads up about that. He just stares in the face of me. Hi, hello, it's the next day, and things are not going very well for me right now because I've just decided to DNF 3 different books. I mean, to be fair, I barely started. I was only like 5 pages into At the End of Every Day, and my brain was just not cooperating with me this morning. I was like, should I just wait until I have the audiobook for this one? Because it starts off pretty dense, you know, like there are just so many words. And yeah, I just could not get my brain on board to read this book right now, so this is a temporary DNF until I can get my hands on the audiobook. And so after I decided to DNF that one, I started on The Possibilities. I know this was not even originally technically on my TBR for this video, but it was on my August TBR, and I got the audiobook checked out from my library, so I was like, oh my god, perfect, I'll just start this. And this one I thought would be interesting, you know, because it's about this mother. It says she ventures into parallel worlds to find her missing child, and it just sounded like it would be really interesting, but I only got about 36 pages in before I decided to DNF this one as well. And I think I mainly just DNF this one right now because I am not in the mood for something like this, because it's reading quite a bit more like a character study than I was anticipating. It doesn't feel like very sci-fi or very like parallel worlds vibes. It's just very like a study about this mother and her figuring out if she ever really wanted to be a mother, and discussions about motherhood. And like, maybe someday I will be in the mood for this, but right now I just really am not in the mood for this. I don't know what's wrong with me. So then I decided to pick up Hello Stranger by Catherine Center, but I just got to page 106. I'm 106 pages in, and I think that I'm gonna DNF this one too. Ugh. Because all I knew about this book is that it's a romance book that involves a character who has face blindness, which is something that I think is really interesting and that I was interested in reading more about. Something that I didn't realize about this book is that it starts with this protagonist named Sadie, and she has this like really scary episode where she like blacks out in the middle of the street, and then it's this like really intense kind of scene where this doctor is like diagnosing her with like something's wrong with her brain and she's gonna have to get brain surgery, and it's just so I don't know, it was just very like graphic with the details, and I'm the kind of person that I get a little like squeamish when doctors talk about like something being wrong with like your fucking the blood in your brain and the fucking details, and it was just kind of gross. I don't know if I can read this right now, like I just like that kind of topic just really freaks me out. And so at the beginning of this book she has this brain surgery, and then there's like all this talk about how because of the swelling in her brain she's developed this facial blindness. And I don't know why I didn't realize when I picked up this book that I would be having to read about a character who was just starting to go through this facial blindness. I thought it was gonna be, I don't know why I assumed it would be a character who has always had facial blindness or something like that. Like I didn't think it was like because of her brain surgery that she just had, now she's developed this facial blindness. And like I wouldn't say that I'm a hypochondriac, okay? Like I would not say that, but I also don't love reading about doctors being like, yeah, well, like this is the worst case scenario, and just saying that something's wrong with her brain and that like, oh, it's been there all along and you just didn't know. Like that kind of shit, like it makes me anxious to even read about shit like this, you know? So I'm not loving that. And then I also like, there's just been so many like medical like doomsday kind of stuff happening in this story that it's like almost like triggering my anxiety or something. Like I don't know, it's just making me feel so uncomfortable to read this. I'm like, dude, I just signed up for like a fun romance and she's having like life or death brain surgery and like the shit's happening like even to her dog, and I'm just like, what the fuck is going on? Like this is not fun. And also not only that, okay, because this book is definitely like just freaking me out in like not a fun way. It's making my anxious brain just get all triggered, but it's also like this protagonist is just, oh my god, she's driving me fucking nuts. Like because she goes to pick up her dog from the vet because her dog has to stay at the vet when she gets her surgery and whatever. And when she goes to pick up her dog at the vet, she meets this guy there who she just assumes is like this complete dreamboat, but you know, she can't see his face, right? So she doesn't really, I guess, know if he's attractive or not, but she just makes it out in her head that like this man is gonna be her husband. And like literally when she's like on the way home from the vet, she's like, I've already planned our wedding. Like she's imagining her last name as his last name. She's like, that sounds so good, and we'll have this many kids, and like she's literally like planning their whole lives together. And I was like, okay, that's kind of annoying, but like whatever. But then no, there's a scene like a few scenes later where she has to go to the vet again, and then she's literally doing the same shit. Oh my god, she's like literally a 13-year-old girl or something. Literally this man talks to her like one time and she's like, oh my god, I've already planned our wedding, this is where we're going for the honeymoon, this is what we're gonna tell our friends and family. I'm like, dude, what the fuck? So this protagonist is she's just driving me a little bit crazy. Like we are not vibing right now. And so I think to save myself the headache and the feelings of, you know, just being a little bit anxious reading this right now, I don't think I'm gonna continue with this. I think I'm gonna DNF it for now. And because of how nuts this main character is driving me, I don't know if I see myself picking this back up in the future because I just can't deal with her. She's driving me nuts. And so I don't know, things are not going well for me right now because not only am I not finding a new 5-star, but am I even able to finish a book recently? I don't know. I think right now the plan is to go to the gym this afternoon because I need to get out, and I need to get out of my head apparently. And I think after the gym, I don't know, it's probably gonna be a really chill night with just me and my sister because Obed's gonna be working late tonight. Okay, hello, it is the next day. It's been about 24 hours since I last updated you, but I wanted to update because I have started on the next read. I've decided to temporarily ditch the TBR that I set for this video because things were not really going well. I ended up deciding to read Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood, and I've been listening to it pretty much all morning, and I'm about 45% through the audiobook right now. Today I had a drive. I had about like an hour-and-a-half drive to this area where my friend Brittany lives. We're gonna be going out tonight to this, like, it's like a Hans Zimmer candlelit you know, orchestra kind of performance. I don't know, I'm really excited for it tonight. We're gonna go out to dinner first with her family, and then we're gonna go to the performance a little bit later tonight. But I figured, you know, while I'm down in this area, I thought it would be a good idea to bring some of my books to Half Price Books, because I was doing like a big book unhaul recently anyways, and I just had all of the books like sitting in my office, and so I was like, I might as well just like, you know, take the trip, come down here and drop them off. And so that's what I've been doing. And you know, while I was waiting in the store, I was still listening to this one on audio, and so far this audiobook has been really cute. This is the same author as The Love Hypothesis, and I was kind of nervous to read this one because I wasn't the biggest fan of the last book that this author just came out with, but this one's been really cute so far. We're following this protagonist who, she works as a theorist in, you know, physics, in like, and she's a professor. On the side, she does this like fake dating job where like people will pay her to like pretend to be their girlfriend or whatever. And so there's this one guy that's like her favorite client that he's like always paying her to be his fake girlfriend, and she, like, the love interest is this guy's brother, and so she doesn't realize that they're gonna be working together essentially, and this guy thinks that she's like being shady because he thinks that she's his brother's girlfriend when really she's not. And I just love the setup so far. I don't know, I really like the characters. I really like Jack as a love interest. I feel like he's one of the better Ali Hazelwood love interests compared to the other books, but also she still does do that thing a lot where she's like, oh my god, he's just so huge, he's so massive, like he's just described as like a fucking tree all the time. I guess that's just like Ali Hazelwood's thing at this point, you know, is to write about men who are very large and who work in science. I don't know. So far it's been a very enjoyable reading experience, and now I'm going to head over to my friend Brittany's house, and then later tonight we're going out to dinner and to the show, and then I'm probably just gonna be listening to this audiobook on the way back home tonight. So hopefully it won't take me too long to get through this. It's reading super quick, and I just love their banter, and right now at about 50% of the way through the book, I'm really getting to the point where they're really starting to like open up to each other about shit, and I'm liking it even more now that it's getting more real. So it's going well so far. The lighting's coming through super weird. So it is the next afternoon, and I wanted to give an update because I have just finished listening to Love Theoretically. Last night it was so much fun going to that performance and seeing this string quartet play Hans Zimmer songs. Like, it was just really beautiful. I really loved, obviously, of course, like the Interstellar score was one of my favorites, and they played Time, which is from Inception, which has always been one of my favorite scores ever. But then also I was really surprised by the one for Dunkirk. That one was freaking so badass and so epic and so cool. So it was a really fun night, and the only thing that sucked is that on the way home from down there was like a 30-minute traffic delay because the left two lanes were closed on the freeway. So I was in traffic for an extra like 30 minutes longer than I was expecting to. So I ended up getting home about 2 hours after that, and it was a pretty late night, but it ended up working out fine because I was able to listen to Love Theoretically pretty much all the way home, and by the time I got home last night, I was at like 82% of the way through the book. And so then this morning, while I was like doing laundry and doing a bunch of things, I was able to listen to that last 20% pretty easily. And this story was really cute, okay? I don't know if it was the perfect 5-star. It was probably like around a 4-star for me. I really loved these two characters and their chemistry. I feel like this is definitely, like, I definitely vibed more with these two characters than I did than with the last Ali Hazelwood, because I just really wasn't a big fan of the last book that she just came out with. But this one was actually surprisingly really cute and really wholesome. I loved her little quirks, and like I love the fact that she had diabetes and that the representation, I've heard that the representation was pretty good for her character in that regard. I also do love how she loves the Twilight movies. I love when characters have like a unique kind of quirk to them, and how also about how she's kind of like embarrassed about it, and she doesn't, you know, feel super confident in her like love for Twilight. Like, she always feels like people are gonna make fun of her for it or whatever, and I loved her little character arc with that throughout the story, because I love how Jack as a love interest, he's like interested, or he's trying to be interested in things that she likes, you know? And I love that so much. Like, I honestly think there's nothing more romantic than like someone taking an interest in the things that you like just because they're things that you like, even if it's something they might not like. I just thought that was so freaking cute and beautiful. And I also did really like the third act conflict, because, you know, in the romance books, there's always going to be a third act conflict, and sometimes they're very cringy and just very dumb in my opinion. But I think with this book, like, I don't know, I was really impressed by the third act conflict, and I actually could see like both sides of the situation, and I just thought it was really well done. You know, something that I think is interesting about this book is that when he was a young kid, basically when he was like 17 or 18 years old, he had gotten this article published that was like a scientific journal kind of article that was kind of a joke. Like, it was meant to discredit a lot of like theorists that are working in science, and so she's always kind of had this thing for him. Like, she hated him because person in science who did this like really awful thing when he was younger, and she never understood why he did it. And so I liked that kind of character arc moment throughout the whole story, just kind of like learning what exactly happened there. I don't know, I just thought it was really interesting. And I don't know, the only reason I guess this one wasn't 5 stars for me is just because I'm not as obsessed with this romance book as I am with like romance books that I usually give 5 stars to. I also just think there was a point in time where this book just started to, like, the pacing just started to annoy me a little bit, because it would get to that point where you're at the like 60 to 80% mark where it's just nothing but sex scenes over and over and over again, and I'm just like, okay, I get it. And so I don't know, overall though, this was still a really good time. I would still give this 4 stars. It just was not my perfect 5-star read. So I guess the vlog will continue on. As of right now, it's like 4:30 in the afternoon, so I'm probably gonna start making some dinner because I'm already hungry. Like, I just ate like 4 hours ago or something, and I'm already hungry again. Hello, how's it going? It's been another, I don't know, 24 hours at least since the last time that I updated you. I have been struggling to read recently. It's not that I haven't been trying, it's like, I don't know what's going on with my brain lately. I don't know, I've been having a couple weird days mentally, and it's just really like, it's really been affecting my reading as well. And I can't tell if it's like if it was really like my sour mood that was like ruining my enjoyment of the books, or if I was just not picking up books that I was enjoying. But for some reason, I've just been really struggling lately without the help of the audiobook. And I know that's so freaking stupid to say, but like every now and then I get in these weird moods like this where it's like I'm literally sitting there trying to read the words and like nothing is clicking in my brain, and I just struggle and sit there for like 15 minutes reading the same 5 pages over and over again. And I don't know if it's me, if it's like, if the book is just not gripping me, like maybe it is the book's fault, or if it's my fault because my brain is just so like cluttered right now. I don't know what's going on, but anyways, I did want to let you know that I have started on I Did It For You. I actually got the audiobook checked out from this morning from my library, which was like perfect timing. I was like, thank God. But I'm also like frustrated because I'm 8 chapters into this book, which puts me at about 75 pages in, and I think that I want to DNF this too. Like, I'm so angry with myself because I'm finding this story to be so boring so far. And again, like, I don't know if that's because of me and my like inability to focus on anything right now, or if it's just because the book is not that interesting. And I'm really, you know, I'm thinking maybe for this one, it really is just like, it's not that interesting, because the main reason I was intrigued about this one is because we're following a protagonist who, you know, like her sister was murdered back in the day, and this guy was put away, like he was put on death row, and like he was executed for the death of her sister. And now years and years later, there's like another copycat killer. And so like that's the thing that intrigues me the most about this book. But so far, I don't know, 75 pages in, and like nothing has really happened in this book besides like a lot of like small town talk and just people hanging out in their small town. And there's a lot of like flashbacks to when they were younger. I don't know, I don't care, and I'm just bored out of my mind. So I think in order to save this vlog at all, because now it's not only like, will I ever have a 5-star again? It's like, will I ever read again? No, that's really dramatic, I know, but I think it's time for me to call the Hail Mary and start on the 7-year slip, right? Because if this book is not 5 stars, then like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like, I don't know what the plan is if this book is not 5 stars. So I feel like this would be the best time for me to start this, because honestly, like, I need the pick-me-up right now, you know? Like, I need to be reminded why I love reading in the first place, and I feel like Ashley Poston is really gonna do that for me. I have faith that this will still be a 5-star. This is my only hope right now, so I think I'm gonna start this one next. I might actually go ahead and download the audiobook because, as I said, I can't be trusted right now to just read with my brain. I'm also, this afternoon, I'm gonna be having my first ever troop talk with my sister over on my Patreon. I know it's kind of confusing. It has nothing to do with my book club, which is called the Book Troop, but I just thought it would be something cute to call it, so we're calling it the Troop Talk. These troop talks are going to be basically like a new live show that I'm going to be doing on my Patreon once a month, hopefully, where we just kind of get the chance to like hang out for like an hour and a half to 2 hours, and we just get to like chat and catch up. It's kind of like reading sprints, but we don't do any reading. It's just hanging out. And so that's going to be happening tonight, which I'm really looking forward to because I could really just use a break from everything else, to be honest, like with reading and everything, like, oh my gosh. And then also tonight we are going to be going over to dinner next door to my next door neighbor's house, which we've never done before. We don't really know our next door neighbors, but they invited us because, you know, it was like a situation where I was like watering their plants for them while they were gone, and then they brought over brownies, which was like super sweet, and then they were like, we would love to have you over for dinner, and it just ended up happening that we're gonna be going over there for dinner tonight. So it'll be cool to, you know, get to know our next door neighbors and get to know, you know, more people. So that's happening later tonight after the troop talk. So hopefully though, sometime in between there and all of the things happening today, hopefully I can get started on this one next. Hello, hi, it is the next afternoon, but I wanted to give an update because I have started on the 7-year slip and I just got up to chapter 10, which puts me at about 88 pages into this one. And so far, oh my gosh, so far this book is delivering on everything that I was hoping it was going to deliver. Like, I have such high hopes right now. Like, I don't want to jinx it, okay? I don't want to jinx it. Like, literally knock on wood. I'm feeling like this is giving me 5-star energy so far, which is just, it's making me so happy. So basically in this story, we're following this character named Clementine West, which, like, okay, that is such a cool name. I'm obsessed. Clementine West, so freaking cool. And it's really awesome because she works as a book publicist. Immediately this book has me intrigued because we're following a character who like works in book publishing, which I find really interesting. It takes place in New York, which is definitely one of my biggest things that I look for in books that I tend to love. And then the thing that's so cool about this, because, you know, I feel like Ashley Poston, she's really good at writing these romances where it's not just romance, there's like a touch of like something more happening. And so in this story, the touch of something extra that's happening is that Clementine, her aunt has recently passed away, and so she's gonna be like inheriting her aunt's apartment, and she's gonna be going and moving into the apartment. And then she meets this guy in the apartment, and he is living 7 years in the past. It's like a time travel, weird time loop situation where he is 7 years in the past, but he's in the same apartment as her. And it's weird because the same thing had happened to her aunt, where her aunt had always said that her apartment was like magical, and she had fallen in love with this woman who was existing in the past. And somehow her apartment brings these people together who are in different time periods. Like, I don't even fully understand what's going on, but it's so cute because he's like living in that same apartment, and now where she's living, it's like her aunt's apartment. It's almost like a roommates situation because they're gonna be like sharing the space because he is living there technically, but he's living there in the past. So it's just, it has so many things about it that I already love, like the fact that we have a character in book publishing and takes place in New York, and there's this really cool like time travel apartment weird aspect to it, and the roommates thing. Like, roommates to lovers is one of my favorite tropes in romance books, and I'm just like loving their chemistry so much already. I love the fact that this guy, what is his name? His name is like Iwan or something. I love that he is a chef and he's like really passionate about food because, you know, I have just recently finished watching season 2 of The Bear, and I'm like, so now I'm just imagining like Jeremy Allen White as like the love interest, which is like making me even happier because I adore how passionate this guy is about food. And like their conversations so far have just been so cute. Like, I just love the way that they're opening up to each other right away, and I love how he's calling her Lemon even though her name is Clementine. Like, that is so cute. And so I'm just obsessed. So far it's going very well. I am having the best time. I also today I'm currently in my bathroom right now because I'm cleaning today, because tomorrow we have a bunch of family flying out from California, and I'm gonna have my cousin Grant and his girlfriend Kara are gonna be staying with us because for my dad's birthday is coming up in about 3 days, right? And my mom this year, she decided to surprise my dad because it's a big birthday for him this year. So she decided to surprise him by having my dad's brother, his cousin, and some of our cousins fly out from California tomorrow and surprise him, and he has no idea. And so it's gonna be so much fun, but I'm trying to clean the apartment so that, you know, when they come over and stay, like Grant and Kara are gonna be staying at our apartment. So I wanna make sure everything is like tip-top shape and clean. So we're having a big cleaning day today because they land tomorrow. So I'm hoping that I can finish this book all today because I'm not gonna have time over this next week because I'm gonna have family literally staying here. So yeah, I'm gonna try to spend most of the day trying to finish this one up. I'm just gonna continue cleaning this apartment, listening to this on audio, and hopefully just having the time of my life with this because it's going so good so far.
This is the end, a bitter end, a bit of heaven. So much we said, so much bullshit, I'm much better off. No doubt, we had the best times. Gotta watch, you hurt me more times. So I held you close, hoping you would back and leave. 'Cause I only fall in love with things I feel. If you ask me now, I'm happy that you're gone. And I'm so much happier now on my
Hello. Oh my gosh, it's been a few hours. I'm sorry if I look ridiculous, but I just went to the gym and then I've been sitting here eating dinner and then also like picking off my nails because one of my nails popped off right before I went to the gym, and so I was like, okay, it's obviously time for them to come off, but this one is being really stubborn, so for now it'll be on. But I just finished reading The 7-Year Slip and like I was an emotional mess a little bit at the end of this book, which I don't think I was expecting, but like maybe I should have been expecting it. You know what was so cool was that there was a moment in this book where I was like, oh my gosh, this book literally is the song Timeless by Taylor Swift. Like if I had to pick one Taylor Swift song to represent this book, it would be Timeless, you know, because it fits perfectly. But also Marjorie, side note, the Marjorie song also totally fits this because of how passionately this character loved her aunt who passed away. It honestly like kind of reminded me of La La Land a little bit with like the way that she would talk about her aunt and how she was just always so like the kind of person who would just like live in the moment and like not want to waste a single day, you know? And so anyways, where I was going with that is that there was a chapter that was called Timeless, which I just thought was really cool because I was like, oh my god, like I literally think the Taylor Swift song Timeless would like perfectly represent this book. And then it was really cool too because the chapter right after that was called Life Goes On, which is one of my top favorite BTS songs. I know it's completely unrelated and it doesn't even matter, but then it's also really cool because there's another chapter later in the book that's called All Too Well. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, are these some subtle Taylor Swift references or am I just insane? Because that's definitely a possibility. Like, holy shit, Okay, well, the good news is that this book was definitely 5 stars. Like, without a doubt, 5 stars. My freaking soul just feels like it was crushed right now. I just love this writing. I love the way that this author writes her romances, okay? I just love it. It reminds me so much of like Emily Henry. Her writing just reminds me of Emily Henry. It makes me emotional. I don't know how to explain it. I just love it so much. Look at this one line that I put a tab on because I was like, this is just so beautiful. It just says, being close to him felt like a story I didn't know the ending to. Huh? Like, that is so simple, but it's just so beautiful. And I just love the way she wrote these characters. I love his little nickname for her, the way he calls her Lemon. I love that she like works in book publishing, but I feel like It's almost kind of similar to the book Happy Place by Emily Henry. It reminds me a little bit of that with the way that, you know, we follow a protagonist who feels like she's slowly falling out of love with her job, or she's like not as passionate about what she's doing anymore. And it's like really taking a toll on her mental health and like her as a person, because she feels like, you know, like for her whole life, like this is what she's always wanted to do. And like she doesn't know who she is without this job. And I just love that this topic is being explored more in romance books, and how it's so important to like put yourself first and to put your happiness first before any kind of job. And I just, it was so good. And like there were some moments where, I'm not gonna lie to you, the time travel like aspects of this book did get a little bit confusing to me sometimes, because the whole thing with this book is that the guy that she's like falling for, he is living in like 7 years in the past and she's in the present day. But then there's like moments in the book where it gets a little bit confusing because she has interactions in her real life present day. And sometimes I would just get a little bit confused because she would be in the present day, but then he wouldn't. So like some of it was a little bit confusing, but I feel like anytime I read books that involve some time travel elements like this, I always get a little bit confused because for some reason in my head, I can never like keep the timeline straight or whatever. But it was also just really interesting and really beautiful. I feel like Ashley Poston, she reminds me so much of like Emily Henry with her romances, but she just has a touch of like something more magical to them, because you know, like the Dead Romantics, it was like this girl's falling in love with a ghost, you know, and then in this book it's like there's this cool time travel aspect to it. So I feel like she writes so much like Emily Henry for me, but like with a touch of something extra and like magical, which I really freaking like. I just really ended up loving this one so much. Like, thank goodness, you know? I just loved Ewan as a love interest. Like, he was just so freaking sweet, and I loved his little like lemon nickname for her. And then I also loved just his passion for food and the way that he would talk about food. Right towards the beginning of the book, he had this really cute moment where he was like explaining to her what the perfect meal is. And I love that he's just so like not pretentious, because I feel like sometimes when you read about like characters who are chefs, they can be very like, you know, snobby when it comes to food, or like thinking that they know better than everyone, like what the best meals are or like how to cook. And I love that he says, you ask me what makes a perfect meal. It's this. Food is a work of art. That's what a perfect meal is. Something that you don't just eat, but something you enjoy with friends and family, maybe even with strangers. It's an experience. You taste it, you savor it, you feel the story told through the intricate flavors that play out across your tongue. It's magical, it's romantic. And she's like, romantic? Because she's like, I would never describe food as like being romantic. And he's like, you know what I'm talking about, a rich cheesecake you dream about for hours after, a soft candlelight, a plate of cheese and good wine. Like just the way that he talks about food with such passion, like I just love reading about characters who are really passionate at like whatever they're doing. It was just so freaking sweet. And this was definitely one of those romance books too where like it's a freaking slow burn, you know, like you have to wait a long freaking time before anything happens between these two, but when it finally does, oh my god, the payoff is like so worth it. Like that scene was written so freaking beautifully and just so good and so steamy. So yeah, this was 5 stars. I'm so happy about it. I love this one so much. Like I don't know if I love this one more than the Dead Romantics. That's definitely something I'm gonna need to think about. I almost feel like I would need to reread the Dead Romantics just to confirm. This one also, like, it did make me emotional just like the Dead Romantics did, which I wasn't really expecting. Like I didn't think at the halfway point of this book, I was like, I don't think this one would make me emotional. And then all of a sudden I'm like freaking crying at the end. And so yeah, I don't know if I enjoy this one more than the Dead Romantics, but they were both 5 stars, both freaking top tier, definitely gonna be one of my favorites of the year. So that is so good. Thank goodness this has happened, because I was literally gonna freak out. I was like, if this book is not 5 stars, this vlog is gonna last the entirety of August. Sorry that this vlog was a little bit chaotic and a little bit, you know, just all over the place. I've been having a really weird reading month so far in the month of August. Like, I don't know what the heck is going on. So hopefully my reading can get back on track soon. But if you've read any of the books that I read during this vlog, I would love to know what you think of them. And thank you so much for watching as always, and I will see you very soon with another video. Bye.